Recording. Hello, everyone, and welcome to MovieCast, where I am joined by Mr. Danny Martinez, and we will be discussing I would say, one of the most surprising good Marvel movies in a while, and that is Thunderbolts, Asterisk, which Asterisk is for a reason. Um, yes, so kind of starting off right away, what were your immediate thoughts? Because I was expecting nothing.
I was expecting basic. I was expecting just fun, kind of mindless. Of course, I still expect it to be entertaining. So, my expectations were happily met, and more so, very emotional. Characters were very well done. Story was very simple, but still very good. It's almost like Marvel wanted to go back to his roots. It felt really, really good. I was happy towards the end. I was happy with the way everything was done. No movie's perfect. I have very, very, very small gripes, but like nothing at all compared to like how good the movie was.
How could you have gripes with one of the most perfect movies of 2025? At least there were 20,000 characters in here, like Captain America, Winter Falcon Soldier, uh, whatever. So for me, I was really surprised. I expected nothing. I mean, we've been having a string of meh movies and meh TV shows. I honestly don't even remember the last Marvel TV show that we had, and Daredevil does not count. Like with the core of the MCU.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah. So I was really expecting nothing really. I was expecting something thrown together, or maybe like a rip off of like it's basically Guardians of the Galaxy
Hmm.
again. And in a way, you can make that argument. MCU likes their little tortured characters who are sad and miserable, but this was kind of different. So I was actually very pleasantly surprised, and then I got really worried because this movie is so kind of heavily based on like suicide and depression and sadness. It was like, are kids going to enjoy this? So kind of just starting right off from the beginning of it, the whole plot of the movie essentially is to kill the remaining. You wouldn't even call them really Avengers because they're just like side characters from other TV shows and
Hmm.
movies. So basically, we're introduced to the Sentry Project, which is Valentina's attempt to create her own new version of the Avengers. And basically, it would just be an Avenger who is all powerful. So you don't need several of them. Because as you read in the comics, of course you know, because you educated me on this, he has a multitude of special effects and features and powers, and basically, that is failed. A lot of test subjects have died. A lot of people have died trying to basically become the next century, or it's sold as what is it like an experience that'll make you a better person, and everyone dies because of that. And the Avengers, even though they are fake Avengers, random people, they work for Valentina, and because of their connection, the whole goal is very simple: is to get them all together and to kill them all at once, so she has no loose ends, so she can't be impeached and go to jail because she's on trial for doing things without the government's permission. So, what was your thought overall on just the plot alone? Because I was not expecting that to be the plot.
I kind of expected it. I kind of had that feeling that it was going to be that simple, and that's pretty much my opinion on it. Is that it's just a simple. You can call it generic or cliche or whatever it is, but it works. And like the way I see them is they're kind of like a Suicide Squad, the Marvel Suicide Squad, and they're just expendable people who are just doing her dirty work, and the whole story with her, I didn't really like her that much as a character or as a villain anyways. Like she was okay, but I think I just know her for so long doing other work that just her coming off this way was kind of like it felt like a little bit forced. Just because I've known her body of work from other things, and a lot of it's like comedies and stuff. So it was a bit weird, but the story itself made sense, and how it connected all of them made sense and stuff. uh Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
So, see, I thought that they kind of cheapened her story. Because remember, I think it was Wakanda, the last one, where we found out that she was married to, oh gosh, it would have been Martin Freeman's character. But she's married or divorced, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
And we learned so much more about her backstory. And it was like, okay, it's like, is he in it? We kind of got nothing. So I was just like, oh, okay, I guess that
Well,
information is just to give information. Yeah.
we can get back to that like towards the end when we start talking about the end, because I do have a theory about why her character development was kind of stunted. But like, because yeah, we got a little bit of backstory for her, and then kind of like nothing but kind of like the evil villain type thing for this movie. That's pretty much it. We got no really like character development other than like, oh, she's really evil. And then we got a little bit of that scene where, was it her father that died, when she got the little dark flashback and stuff. But
Yeah.
but I have a theory about that later on.
Well, now I'm excited. So basically, within these groups of ragtag people who are not dead yet, and she's trying to kill, is Yelena, Bucky Barnes, Red Guardian, Ghost, Taskmaster, and John Walker. What were your thoughts of them, kind of as a whole or separate?
Separate. I think they're really cool. I like all of them as characters. I mean, not so much Ghost. I think Ghost was a very throwaway, and Taskmaster, but we'll talk about Taskmaster in a second. But Ghost, when she was in the second Ant-Man movie, she was a very much a throwaway villain. She wasn't really that special then. She wasn't really that special now. She's more of a supporting role. I mean, to be honest, you have to be honest with me. This was a Yelena movie. This was a new Black Widow movie. This was very much focused on Yelena's backstory and her growth and development. Yes, it had the other characters on there, but Yelena had a huge role and impact in this movie. So like everybody else was just kind of like side characters, including Bucky. Bucky, like if you didn't have Bucky in this movie, and this is my one of my gripes, if you didn't have Bucky in this movie, it would change nothing in the story. Nothing would change. Like it wouldn't make a difference aside from them actually getting saved, which they could have gotten saved by anybody at that point. But like you could have wrote off Bucky, and the story doesn't make much of a difference. It still would be the same thing. They try to save the Sentry, they go and fight the Sentry, yada yada yada. They try to go off with the Yelena. So I feel like the whole Bucky stuff was just like to give him work and to kind of like put more star fame, like star power into the movie with Sebastian Stan. So that's my only problem with the movie, is just that like they kind of I felt like he was a bit shoehorned in there. But I also get the theme. I'm sorry. They also get the I also get the theme of it, is that for all the characters, it involves them trying to be better people and trying to get past their past, and they can't. So it fits Bucky very well because of the whole Winter Soldier stuff, but we've already done that so many times. We've already done that with the Captain America movies. We've already done that with Falcon and Winter Soldier. We've already been there. And he's trying to outgrow that by being, what was it, a senator or something. And then, yeah, he still ends up congressman, whatever, because it's not important. And they even said, wow, like you're probably the first congressman who hasn't even made half a term. You're like the shortest lived congressman ever, because now all of a sudden he turns from congressman to mercenary, and now back to, spoilers for everybody who's seen the ending, now he's a new Avenger. So it's like they shoehorn him in there because they want him to be just part of the story because it's Sebastian Stan. Go ahead, because I know you got a lot to say.
I completely disagree. Are you serious? No, here's the thing. We have seen the journey of Winter Soldier. And at the end, remember, he was giving Anthony Mackie's sister the little side eye. He was side-eyeing her, and everybody was like, oh, he loves black people. But here's the thing. I feel that this, you can argue, oh, it gives him something to do. He struggled so much. And he is someone I feel who cannot be alone. And as a congressman, it gave him that spotlight and the people and the flashing cameras. But at the end of the day, he is alone. We can Politics is very complicated, but again, it's alone. And I think it created such a complication that he was starting to just go with the flow. The whole movie itself is about these characters who are unable to feel. There's a void inside of them. And I think he was just going through the motions, which is why he wasn't able to pass the bill, because he's not passionate about it. So it was just that step for him to take. I would have loved even to get like the opinions of the people, because it's like, oh, is he really a good guy or is he just another operative? That would have been a really great thing for like your political opponents. Oh, he's just an operative of the government. Look at his history. But anyway, the whole point that I feel that he was there, obviously we'll get to the ending, but that is to create another, you can argue, civil war situationship between him and Sam Wilson when it comes to Avengers, or Avengers with the Z, and that whole copyright infringement. I thought that was so cute. But then on top of that, he is someone who desperately needs someone. Falcon is busy being a kiss butt to Thaddeus, which that was a whole other issue. And he can't do that route. He has to have someone who is always there. And I felt that each character played the role. And you can argue and say, oh, Yelena was the main character. But without Yelena, he wasn't able, Sentry or Bob wasn't able to connect to anything or to feel. It was her that rescued him. Character. But at the same time, so was John Walker, who has spent the rest of the movies. Everyone hates him. Yeah. Everyone hates him.
John Walker still hated, but he had no impact in anything either, because everybody was still an asshole to Bob, even if you threw away John Walker. Like, John Walker was kind of, I felt like he was there to kind of instigate a side of the Sentry and to kind of show of the uncaring nature of people, because he doesn't give a shit about nobody but himself, and to show that side of things. But again, like it works well, but I still feel like Bucky was just being Bucky.
Bucky wasn't just being Bucky. Bucky had changed. He found something.
He went back to where he went. What do you? He could have been an Avenger again. He could have went back to Sam Wilson and be like, "Hey, buddy, I don't like being a congressman. Can we let's do something together?
Yeah,
let's be a team again."
No, I think that this group allows themselves to be individuals as well as a group. And working with Sam Wilson, and who's to say that? And I know this sounds really weird because he was a congressman, but with Falcon, he was directly under the president. It was just I felt that the Falcon, the Hispanic Falcon in that movie, he was so eager to learn and so eager to be taught. He doesn't have that. Winter, if you pair them back together, they know what it is to do.
He still works for the government. He still has the president to deal with as a congressman.
But he's not anymore. He's a contractor with the Avengers with the Z. Mm-hmm. So that's why that works. And I felt that.
Well, what I'm saying is that there's no difference between him being a congressman or him working with Sam Wilson. If he's not happy being a congressman, he could have easily went back with Sam Wilson, because it makes no difference.
Sam Wilson is still working. This one is more of I feel that this one wasn't even about the government. This was literally, you're looking at people literally being yeeted into the ground and turned into ash. It was a flashback of the whole snap all over again. I'm looking into the shadows, but that looked like the atomic bomb drop. And you got the Hiroshima shadows. So what government is not working for the government? That's literally working for the people. That wasn't a government ad.
You're just going to have to agree to disagree, because I think he was useless.
Have to disagree then.
I think he was useless.
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think that he worked wonderfully. I think every single person worked. And
yes, I would agree.
Every person worked, and they all created a group, and it all worked individually. And yes, you can make the argument this is a Yelena movie, but it was also an Avengers movie as well. So I guess we'll just agree to disagree, except for I think that Taskmaster was just. I
Oh
would have
yeah,
loved
the
to have seen.
Taskmaster thing. I'm not a I put Taskmaster's number one fan, but it's bullshit because I couldn't stand Taskmaster in the Black Widow movie, and I don't know why they were bringing her along for this movie. They again, comic fan here. They butchered Taskmaster's character to all hell. Nothing like the comics aside from the whole memorization of people's moves and stuff like that. And even that wasn't even portrayed that cleverly. So Taskmaster was not a fun villain. So we kind of knew that she was going to get killed off because the marketing was kind of like, it was weird. It was like, we'll see Taskmaster in like some of the ads and some of the commercials, but then there'll be other cuts of it and we'll see her not there in the background. And we kind of already know that like Marvel has a habit of like CGIing people in the background or cutting people out. So it's kind of like the three Spider-Man in the Spider-Man movie. Like they like to mess around with the trailers. So we kind of knew that someone was going to get killed off and it was going to be Taskmaster. And I kind of called it. She just gets shot in the head and dealt with within the first, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of the movie, maybe less than that.
Not like 10.
Yeah.
It was so sad. But that fight scene was really nice, though.
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
a good fight
That's
scene.
true.
That's all I got was the fight scene. So then, yeah, since I thought that each I love the fact that we had a thing of John Walker lost his wife and his son or daughter or just basically
Daughter.
baby,
Yeah.
and the fact that daughter and they were black was like, oh, okay, I don't know what to do with that. He's still racist though. He still gives me those vibes. It's still all lives matter with him.
He's mad and bitter because he brought a biracial baby into the world.
But I like even in that little tiny scene where we saw like the fall of a hero, which we kind of saw multiple times in the trailer, that shows that after he killed that guy, which technically he wasn't wrong, technically, but after he killed the guy in the middle of the street, it's like, no, you can't be Captain America again. So that was something there. I love the fact that we got the whole relationship between Yelena and Red Guardian and how they are both kind of depressed and they haven't talked to each other for a year. That was really sad. And it was like, I don't know how to approach you. And it was that, so that really worked. Ghost, I honestly cannot remember anything Ghost did in Ghost's movie.
She did a lot of hiding.
At all. Did a lot of hiding. I can't tell you what Taskmaster did. I know there was a fight scene. I can't tell you anything. And
she didn't do anything.
Really doesn't.
She literally had 5 words in the entire movie, and that was, "I'm not. I'm no 4 words. I'm not here for you." 5 words. Yeah, 5 words. I'm not here for you. And then
right. No, I meant like wasn't. She was in Black Widow. I can't remember what Taskmaster was in Black Widow.
Yeah, they don't really reveal her until the end of the movie, and like I said, even then it wasn't worth it.
See, but this is when we kind of get into that convoluted thing where I have to watch 20 movies to kind of understand what is going on. But the way how they did it with the writing is you technically don't have to. Just know that a sister is dead, and you would be fine with that. I think they did a really great job of explaining, the opening monologue that Yelena had of, I go and do this, I go and do that, I'm bored. So you kind of get like that really great
I go drink and then I go get depressed because I regret everything.
There you go. And then so during the task of them trying to kill each other and realizing that they didn't kill each other, and with Taskmaster dead, we get the introduction of Bob, who we all know is just not a regular Bob. Bob is Sentry and Void, which I guess Void would be a split personality of Sentry, which is all manifested by Bob, because Void is Bob's depression, and then Sentry's like, I'm a hero. Right? Is that how it was in the comics?
Pretty much. I mean, Sentry himself is a bit of a somewhat of a loose cannon. He's very malleable to he's very how do you say he's easy to manipulate because he's still very much Bob. He's still very much Bob. Like he's like, oh, I want to be a hero, but I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't know what I'm doing. He's very like kind of unsure of himself. He still has all these problems. It's not like it's not in the comics. It's not like Bob is separate from Sentry and also separate from Void. Bob is Sentry, but Void is very much separate. So that's what I like about the what they did with the movie is that the Sentry was still Bob, just kind of commercialized.
See, that's where I'm slightly confused because he said I can't be Sentry without Void coming. So technically, aren't they the Sentry and Bob and Void the same?
Well, yeah, they're I mean, they're the same people. They're just different constructs of their mind. So
Oh.
in the comics, it was never established what the Void is. So we don't know. Even Bob doesn't know. Yes, it could be just a construct of his imagination or a split personality or whatever it might be. If you want to go comic crazy, he could be another entity from a far off universe. He's just attached to Bob. Like nobody knows. So but the best explanation is that he's just another part of Bob's mind split off, and then he turns into the Void at some point. And this is why Bob rather would not be the Sentry in the comics. He rather would not be the Sentry because he's afraid of what the Void is capable of doing.
See, and I viewed it as split personality because when they showed that scene of the parents arguing and then the mother blaming Bob, like, why did you have to do that? I viewed it as that's when he split. And that's when I viewed when he became a meth addict and became even more depressed. That was Void. And Bob was just regular Bob. And Sentry was the personality that got split because of the serum that Valentina gave him. So that's how I viewed it. So thoughts on Bob and how he was portrayed. Louis Pullman, who was Pullman's son, a nepo baby, who was actually good.
The Sentry is my favorite comic book hero in all of Marvel Comics. So I was so deathly worried about them messing him up. And for those people who would trash the Sentry because the Sentry doesn't have a very good track record of being consistent in the comics, the problem is that he's so ridiculously overpowered that they tend to write him off a lot or kill him off. So he doesn't last very long in Marvel Comics in general, but he's the Superman of Marvel. And I was very much afraid. And it literally, as soon as that first scene with him when he comes out and he's just kind of like, I am Bob, and kind of just like he's a mess. He's kind of jittery. He's kind of shy. He's kind of antisocial. He's kind of all over the place. I was just like, this is perfect. This is him. This is absolutely him. And you even see it after he gets his powers and everything, and they show him off as the Sentry with the suit and everything. He kind of has a bit of that ego and a bit of that like, yeah, I'm finally a superhero now. I could do this. I could make this happen. But like, why should I do this? You know, why? Like, I'm way too powerful. I'm overpowered. I could do this alone, or, you know, a lot of things. So like, I think they got his personality down packed, his look down perfect, suit and no suit. I think the only thing, and you can't complain about this, any comic book fan shouldn't complain about this, but he's very small in his suit. But you can't have this hulking mass of a person. That would just look stupid. So I understand that that's something you kind of just have to let go. Just stop. Like, you can't have a freaking Hulk of a man in a suit like that unless you CGI the whole thing, and that's just not going to be fun either. So I really like the suit. I really like the hair. Everything was perfect. And then when he gets to turn into the Void, this is something that I talked to my wife about after the movie was done. That doesn't look like the Void. He looks way comic bookish. He looks way crazier in the comics, almost like symbiote like, almost like he's very dark and very like evil looking, but he's got like these weird tentacles everywhere, and he's kind of like destruction everywhere and all that stuff. This one, and this is not a complaint, by the way, and the reason why is because usually I'll complain about anything that's not comic accurate if you're gonna try to make these people like really true to the comics. Show your passion, show your love. You got to make these people comic accurate. But he wasn't. But I love the design though. The voice design was very well done because it was creepy. It was just like unsettling. It was simple. So you don't have to have this massive CGI with all the tentacles and stuff and to make it look comic book accurate and whatnot. So I think like this gets a pass in my opinion. I think this version of it was very well done.
Then here's the thing that I would say about him not having the tentacles that I think that they did to kind of give tentacles. They worked with shadows a lot. And so when he was over the city, you could see the shadows and it looked like fingers approaching the people. So I thought that instead of those would have been tentacles, because I don't want a big old thing and, blue hands and tentacles flying around. I would be afraid that we get more into what would it be? I forgot his name. He was the blob thing from Quantumanium with the big head. So
MODOK?
That would have been my MODOK. My fear was that he would start looking like the MODOK character. Right. So I like the fact that they instead incorporated the use of shadows with this. It wasn't as good as like Lights Out. I think that's one of the best shadow movies. But they did use the shadow, and also the shadows kind of represented like the depression coming up and creeping up on you. Yes. It was very kind of Nosferatu in a way, you can argue. So for me, I didn't read the comic books. I love that design. I thought that worked very well. And then on top of that, you had the music was so good. Anytime Sentry was around, it created this kind of ominous effect. So I kind of like that part. So I thought the Sentry design for me worked wonderful. Not Sentry, Void design worked wonderful. Sentry, it was really surprising to see him blonde. I really hated it. It looks completely out of place, which was the whole point.
Yes.
Because that was Val's suggestion. Have you seen the picture of basically saying that it looked like Homelander?
Yeah, that's the exact vibe that I got, and you posted it on Twitter recently too. Like it was. I can't remember her name, but with
Elizabeth Shue's character.
Yeah, with Homelander, like it was the same exact vibe. I was like, you look like Homelander, except you just dyed your hair blonde. Like just the way you're standing and how unsettling you look and how disturbed you look compared to like the other villain right next to you. Like, yeah, it was that. I think that's what kind of set that mood. Also, it was very well done.
It was, but you could also see his complete uncomfortability with it. He's like, "Oh, do you like it? Yeah. It was her idea. I'm not sure about this hair." But what were your thoughts when we finally got one fight scene? I thought this was going to be like a superhero movie with like fight scenes. We got one technical like fight scene that was heavily CGI'd. What were your thoughts on that?
The fight with the Sentry?
There was only like a handful. There was like 2 fight scenes in the whole movie.
Sure, I guess, because there was like a little bit of fighting when they were trying to escape the facility and a lot of people shooting. This was like just before they shot up the Sentry, before he became the Sentry. When they shot up Bob, I should say. Like they were trying to escape that place. There was a couple of fight scenes there, but yeah, I get you. Like 2 big
that's right.
2 big
3. There would be 3.
Yeah.
3 fight scenes when they're first trying to kill each other. The second would be escaping the building, and then the third would be when Sentry was like, "I don't want to do this."
Yeah.
And then downstairs.
Downstairs. Oh yeah, and downstairs. Yeah. So the Sentry fight was hilarious, and I think it was done perfect because that's exactly my Sentry. Just completely overpowered and stupid, and like just because it's just ridiculous. Like he didn't break a sweat. He just literally stood there. He either took the hits or he would just be like, and then just have him. I thought it was hilarious when he made Red Guardian fly out the building. He could have killed him and just dropped them right there, but he just brought him right back and just threw him at the bar. And then just like he was just throwing everybody and just throwing everything out of a whim. It was just he would win against Homelander, damn it. Like he did not have any problem fighting these people. And that's my Sentry. That's the way I like it. And I think that was also well done. What's funny about that also is a lot of people in social media, they were just like, oh, so how are these super soldiers going to beat the Sentry? Like, they're not going to be able to kill the Sentry. And in my head, I'm just like, why are you even asking that question? Like, I know absolutely that they're not going to be able to fight the Sentry in hand-to-hand combat. They're going to have to go some other route. And I called it. I kind of assumed they eventually go up in the void world and they kind of help him out, alleviate his mental problems. And that's what kind of helps it all. Hand-to-hand combat, come on. No contest. So I thought it was very funny and very well done.
Oh, I felt so sad for Bucky when remember how they all scurried away and then Ghost had to grab his arm and throw it at him? It'd have been funny if he hit him with his own arm. But then like Ghost had to grab his arm, and then I think it was Red Guardian who kind of lifted Bucky into like over his shoulder. And they all just scurried away.
And the Sentry bends the shield, the Captain Wannabe shield, and they made it into a taco.
It's a taco shell. They never addressed whether or not he unbent it, because only Sentry can unbend it, but he refuses to be Sentry again.
No, it wasn't unbent. He still had it at the end when they were doing it. He still had a bent shield. It's like he couldn't even be bothered to get a new shield. He just kept the same one.
Well, because he was kind of this is Val's fault. But then again, maybe not, because remember when he got kicked out, I don't think they would issue him another shield. And then Val, she's supposed, I guess, got rid of the what would be other shields because he was working for him, and he was supposed to be dead. So he just never got. 14 months later, and still no shield. So yes, I completely loved that part. I loved Bob. I loved the fight with Sentry, even though there were some scenes that you could tell like this is really heavily CGI'd, but it still worked. And it was funny, and also
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just wondering. It showed his restraint because he didn't want to hurt anybody, but he's like, I have to stop y'all.
Yeah.
Some way.
Yeah.
So Bob is still in there.
Yeah.
Which is cute.
This is what I really appreciated about this movie is that it was very light on the CGI. Like a lot of it didn't happen until towards the end is where you see the CGI stuff. But a lot of it was very much basic, simple, like action scenes. A lot of what's the opposite of CGI? What do they call it? What's the term? Practical.
Oh, it's
practical
like real effects. Practical. Yeah.
Those practical effects and everything. So that's what I really liked about it. And that's what Marvel should have been. Like Marvel was like that a lot too. Yes, there was a lot of CGI when you made this, like for example, the Iron Man movies, but it was only when like he's flying around shooting his stuff. Yes, there was a lot of CGI in the Thor movies, but it was a lot during just the fight scenes. So like Marvel's kind of have to dial it back with all the CGI because a lot of it's starting to look cheap. They'd like to cut corners. They like to make the process way too fast, which is why the CGI looks so bad. They need to kind of just chill out and kind of dial it back and take their time with it.
I'll ask the Avengers question later because you got me thinking with the CGI, and Doomsday is going to be nothing but CGI.
Yeah.
So like I'm just worried now when it comes to that because it's not even just them. Also, it's you're giving these studios, you underpay them, and then you cut the time frame that it would take to fully flesh out everything. And my argument would also be no, Jeremy clarified that. He said this was a Disney thing, not a Marvel thing that underpaid.
Oh, okay, really? Okay.
So then now that has me even worried because now I'm wondering, do Disney and Marvel not speak to each other anymore? Because during Bob Chapek, they weren't speaking. Mm-hmm. But now that Kevin Feige has his job back, because remember, they demoted him. So now that Kevin has his job back, are we gonna communicate? Because at the end of the day, Hawkeye was a Bob Chapek thing.
Yeah.
So maybe Kevin Feige's like, look, I'm sorry. Come back. Take all our money.
Yeah.
But who knows? Have a show called Hawkeye, and then you don't pay him his money.
You give him half. You offer him half his salary
for 8 months. Here's half your salary. Because season 1 was so great, we're gonna just give you half. So then, kind of moving on from that, we have to talk about, Sentry now. Val is like, oh, there's a kill switch, which obviously doesn't kill him. And because of this, and he says, oh, wait, there was a question that I had beforehand. When we were back in the building, and you know how each character touched Bob,
Sentry,
and they went into their own depression. Is that comic accurate? How does his powers work in terms of the depression part?
I have never seen that part. Maybe that's stuff that I missed, but I've never seen that. Again, the way he came off in the movie is that he's massively overpowered. There's even stuff that they made it seem like there's even stuff that he hasn't discovered he's able to do yet, that he's literally able to do anything. Yes, they kind of mentioned that in the comics, that he's like so powerful that he doesn't even know the extent of his powers, but I've never seen that before. So I could be wrong, but I have never seen that before.
Because I was slightly confused, and I was like, I've never seen a character that thinks, depression is your superpower, and it can kill other people. I mean, I guess you could argue Scarecrow, right? But that was a gas. That wasn't a superpower.
That was chemical manipulation and stuff. That wasn't even a power.
Yeah. So my thing was, I was wondering, well, they kind of explain, because he's mentally unstable, his powers, therefore, are a reflection of his mental state. So when he touches you, because he is depressed, when he touches you, you feel that depression and it becomes your depression. Which is why when, Yelena touched him, she went and had a flashback when she was a kid, and her assignment was to kill her friend. That was sad. And then there was another one where the kids got whipped because they wasn't as fast as Yelena to reassemble the gun. And then also, as you stated, with Valentina, her depression was going back and seeing her father be murdered. I thought it was like a World War II thing, and then I realized she's not that old. So
yeah, she's probably not that old. I thought it was like a Jewish Holocaust type thing, but
that's right.
Got that vibe.
I was like, no, she wasn't born in the 40s. That's a little Captain America age. So no, but that was a really interesting little thing. A little other detail that they gave to Valentina, which I didn't expect there. So kind of moving on to that, we got to the big scene of when he flips over to the void, and basically everyone just, I don't know, do they go into their own private rooms? Because they know they appear again once he's no longer depressed, but they just kind of Hiroshima, nuclear bombed into the concrete, which is like, how do you defeat something like that? So what were your thoughts on that power? I'm not sure if that's also part of the comics. And then it's not. So they added that in. I guess he has so many powers. They just added that in.
Yeah,
so
they just added in. Like he's the Void's capable of getting in your head and kind of manipulating you. He's kind of like, an evil voice, and he has like somewhat like, what do you call it, telepathic? Is that the word? Yeah, telepathic powers, kind of.
Like Purple Man?
Not like Purple Man, because Purple Man, he could literally just say something to you, and he'll make you do it. But like the Void is able to just get inside your deepest, like darkest secrets and depressions and issues and things like that, and kind of mess with you and stuff. But the way they showed it on here was not that I've seen in the comics. I thought it was still cool and still, again, simple. Like, so you don't have to do so much CGI. I think it still works. Like you said too, it's almost like his depression is that powerful. It's like creeping up on you, and you kind of still see like the tentacle like things creeping through the city and stuff. I liked it a lot, but it kind of gave things a sense of like, oh my God, is this person dead or not? But then we kind of, I was a bit disappointed that yes, towards the end, it was just like, oh, they're just in another world. So once they save the day, everybody's safe in the end. Like there were no repercussions. Like nothing was really destroyed. So that was a bit disappointing. Like just in the sense of like there weren't any real stakes. But it was still well done. I liked it though.
Then this is why also my argument of why I feel like I like this team and what separates them a little bit from the other teams that we've seen before, like Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy and the other original Avengers, would be everyone's depressed. And I think that was the point of the movie. It was the point of their connection. And they're at that point where they are fine. They don't want to necessarily commit suicide, but they're doing things where if they happen to die, they don't care. And it's not like I'm dying for my country. It's because my life is so unlivable. It's this cycle of nothingness that if I die, I'm okay with it. Which is why Yelena, when the movie opens up with her jumping off of that building, it's like if I die, I die. I'm okay. And Red Guardian, I feel the only reason why he's still alive would technically be because of Yelena. And it also made me wonder, where is your wife? What happened to Rachel Weisz? Like, I'm confused. Did they break up? Is there a divorce?
Man, that Black Widow movie is such a blur. I think they. Oh, actually, yeah, the Black Widow movie. They revealed that she was a villain, so I think they get rid of her in that movie.
This is what I mean with sometimes I don't like when everything you have to watch 20 movies to get to one thing. Yeah. I completely forgot. That was during the pandemic.
It was just after, like when things started to open back up, that's when they released the Black Widow movie.
No, because that was a Disney Plus with $30 movie. I remember that because they sent the screener.
They sent the
screener. Well, maybe you saw it in theaters, but it was like the big thing is that you paid the $30.
Yeah.
And because they sent me the screener, because I couldn't do nothing. New Mutants was the first kind of movie to get hit by the pandemic. And it was like, oh, either you go to the theater or you could die. But we're not doing anything about that. And then it was like, here's the screeners. So, yes, that's right. So, like, maybe 5, 4, whatever. It was years ago. I barely remember what I did yesterday. But yes, she turned out to be. And I kind of wish also that now that you mentioned that, they would have brought that up too, because you lost your wife and your daughter. So they didn't particularly say that. And she lost her mother, technically. So yes. So as I was saying, the connecting thread is that everyone wants to die. They don't want to kill themselves, but they're okay with dying. And this is why I felt that it's not like, Suicide Squad, where we're the outcasts, we're the misfits, those kind of people. These are like, please kill me now, people. So that's why I thought it worked so well. Now we have to get inside the Sentry's kind of mind thing, or yeeted room of Hiroshima ash. What did you feel about the room? Because it was Yelena who walked into the void first. And I love that scene with Red Guardian. When he's like, no, Yelena. They were like,
he thought she was dead.
Yeah, and it was like that slow motion, my baby, kind of thing.
Well,
yeah.
I gotta say, I got just before that even happens too, I got really emotional with the dialogue that she had with him when they were just in the streets and they had failed to, fight the Sentry, and she was just like, I have nobody, I just drink and then I go do my job and then I get depressed and I just think about everything that I regret and stuff. I have nobody, I'm alone. And then Red Guardian's trying to talk her down, and she's just like, but you weren't even there for me. Like, it's been a year and I needed you. And there's like this big back and forth emotional thing. And like the moment she's like, I needed you, daddy. Like, oh man, like that's not even her real dad, but that's the closest that she knows to a dad. And it's just so sad. And that's what I really liked about it all, is that no matter who it is that you like in this movie or don't like, you can relate to them. It very much focuses on not just themes of mental health and addiction and depression, but just like you feeling stuck in a rut, like you feeling like that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, or you feel that empty void. Like a lot of people could relate to that stuff, and that's what I loved about it. And then to talk about the scene, like right after all that happens and the void starts to consume the city, it's almost like she doesn't even hesitate to just let it go, and she just walks into the void in order to help. But in that same time, she's just like, you know, if I die, I die, but I think I'm not gonna die. I'm gonna help Bob. And then she just wanders in there. But as you said, like Red Guardian, he freaks out because he's thinking that she just killed herself. So that was just as emotional. And the rooms and stuff were pretty cool. I love that it touches more deeper on Yelena's backstory, because I don't think in the Black Widow movie it touched enough on it, because obviously it's going to focus more on Natasha. But now that it's great that now I feel like this was her movie, because we got so much more backstory and emotional stuff about her that she's going to mean something to people now in future Marvel movies. Because like you can give us another Black Widow, you're going to replace her and she could be just some faceless, mindless blonde chick that just does a lot of kung fu moves. But like no one's going to care if we can't connect to her in some way. And I think this movie really does that, especially in that scene and throughout the scenes while she's in the void. So that was very well done to focus on her, because there's a moment afterwards where she finally finds Bob in these rooms, and then the rest of the cast just shows up. Like they kind of like cross their fingers and be like, well, if Yelena did it, let's go into void too, and maybe we won't be dead. And they jump in, but we don't see any of their stuff. We don't see all the stuff that they suffer from. They just show up. So that's another one of those reasons of just like, yeah, this is a Yelena movie, because we got a lot more emotional stuff for her, not the rest of them, which I think was still well done as well.
I will slightly agree with you with this. I will say this. I felt that they did more telling with the other characters as opposed to showing. And like for John, he had that really quick flashback. But we don't know with Ghost. Ghost just kept telling us, I was raised in a lab. Okay, and what?
And then
okay, that's nice. So I did really wish that we got, like you stated, that's at least a scene or something, a montage of everyone fighting through their own rooms in order to find each other. Because they were all of a sudden, it's like, hi, we're here. It's like, okay, but how did you find each other? You didn't just go in. That's not how it works that way. Because even Bob was like, this is the nicest of the rooms. So there's a multitude of rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the other people who kind of got yeeted away. We didn't, they have their own room that they're going through. So that would have been really lovely to have seen. But then we get kind of them together. It's Yelena that's basically talking to him and explaining, hey, it's kind of gonna be okay, and we have to work together. This is why I really felt that Thunderbolts worked well together. Everyone belonged there because you had, like I stated before, everyone like wants to die. They're going through their own depression, but they still, at the end of the day, came together because they realized that they can fight it together as long as they have that support team, that system built in within each other. They can't go to anyone else. Like Val would not care at all. And their own families, again, we don't know what happened to their families. I'm pretty sure they won't care either. Or they're probably dead. So that's why I felt that it worked better. It worked, they worked. Everyone had to be in this movie. And I don't view, say, Bucky as a throwaway character. Or even Ghost. So then we get to the scene where they're fighting kind of together, and then Sentry finally is a showdown with Bob. So it would be Void and Bob.
Yeah.
The Void versus Bob in the room of where Bob became Sentry Void. Unless Void was already there. It's complex. But yeah. the home of Void or Sentry.
Which I
What did
noticed.
you think of that?
I hope people had noticed
Yeah.
that in the beginning of the movie when Yelena was going to blow up that facility, they already showed that lab table with 2 people burned onto the walls, and I was just like, oh, that's your hint right there. Something happened there, but nobody said anything.
And the hamster lived, so that's a plus.
And the hamster lived. A gerbil, hamster, guinea pig, something
Is
like
it a
that.
gerbil? It's something.
I
It's
can't
a
remember.
rat.
Guinea pig.
It's a cuter rat. I don't know,
I'm gonna say it's a guinea
but
pig.
we never knew what happened. That pig didn't get in at the end. He didn't have an end credit scene. I wonder where he went. Oh well. So, what did you think of that lab scene where Sentry or Void and Bob had to kind of go at
Yeah,
each other?
they're fighting each other, and just as symbolic as it is for us in our heads, like that darkness is talking to you, trying to convince you you're worthless and you need me, and all the stuff that you've been through, you need to let it out and kind of just act out upon it and things like that. And that's what exactly was Bob was doing, because he was although he was like mad at the Void and trying to fight off the Void, Bob punching and kicking and using violence and just letting it all out like that, letting it out in a bad way, was slowly turning him into the Void. So the Void was still kind of getting what he wants. And I think that's just a great message for people. It's just that, like, don't let that darkness talk to you like that. Use a positive outlet, use it in a good way. Don't use violence. Don't use these thoughts in a bad way. But you need that support. You need that help from people. And that was portrayed very well too, because you got Yelena, who ran and dodging all the stuff, doing all the Matrix moves and whatnot, trying to get to Bob, and she kind of stops him, and he's still kind of like it wasn't enough. And then the rest of them come in and they start hugging him and they start holding him back, and he starts to get more emotional, and he starts to slow down and stop it. I thought it was a beautiful scene. I thought it was very well done, and that's the way you would stop the Void in the comics. Like, not with violence, with reason. So I loved it also. It was such an emotional movie from beginning to end.
Yeah, I thought that scene was wonderful. I love the fact that, it pinned everyone down. So it was just Bob and Void. Because you can also make the argument that only you can actually fight it. And then you need the support system as well. And it shows that, you may not be strong enough, as you stated before, and how it'll take over you. And he was turning into Void. And Void was just like, yeah, beat me again. I love that part. And then they had to break through. Yelena was the first one to kind of really, no, how did it go? She was next to Guardian, and Guardian was able to lift something up as she was able to slip down from it. And she was like, no, don't do this. I love you. And then that's how everyone else was able to fight it. And in a way, you can make this argument because there was literally no reason for John to do this. He is like now someone with compassion and empathy.
No, but
he didn't have to even go into
there.
the Void.
He's getting there.
But like Falcon Soldier Winter movie TV show would have never stepped into the Void at all.
I guess maybe.
I don't see him. Do you see him stepping into the Void?
That's hard to say. I probably maybe Bucky, but no, not Sam Wilson. Because again,
I meant Captain America.
Yeah, Sam Wilson.
Captain America.
Oh, you're talking about Walker.
John.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry. No, no, he wouldn't have. He's still selfish. He's still a selfish prick.
But he's less selfish because he literally risked. They didn't know if they were gonna die. So, yay!
But he had that. But that's the thing. Like, your question is like, would he have done it? No. But he had to get convinced to. He had to get people to like get in his head and be like, you need to do this. Like, you got to do this. You got to help. Like, we got to solve this problem, kind of things. But if it was just left up to him, no.
I think he's slightly changed. See, this is why he needs a group because
Yeah.
him alone is by himself. He's a terrible person, but with a group, he's and that was the problem with John from the very beginning. They made him his own person, which he called the shots, and
Mhm.
therefore he had an ego trip. Now with the
Mhm.
group that he's seated in, less of an ego.
Yeah.
See how that works? It's redemption for all lives matter, John. Um, so then, yeah, so I completely love that scene. It was very emotional, but it worked. It was very effective. Um, and then kind of, everyone comes together. And this is the Val situation. What did you think of Val? Because her entire goal was to create a superhero without the government knowing. People are dropping dead. The government found out what she was doing, trying to impeach her. She's working to shut everything down with her assistant, who then calls Bucky. So you see what I mean by Bucky being needed as well.
Mhm.
See, he's that civilian who can talk to people, to work with the politicians, and and then on top of that, they don't get rid of everything because Sentry's still alive, and you have this massive PR problem. But she spins it. It's like, look what
Mhm.
I did. I'm amazing. What did you think of kind of Spinneroonie? And then, of
So,
course, the big announcement. Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll touch on that too. So my theory that I mentioned in the beginning, this is my theory here now, um, is that oh, excuse me, this universe doesn't have a Norman Osborn. I think she is the Norman Osborn of this universe, not literally, but like character wise, that's what she is. Um, she's rich, she's powerful, she has the Avengers Tower, she's putting together a team. And the reason why I say that is because in the comics, I called it. I think we talked about this a long time ago. The reason for the asterisks in Thunderbolts is because the name is pending. And I called it and I said that's because their name isn't going to be Thunderbolts after this movie. It's going to be the Avengers. And I was close. It's the new Avengers. And the reason why I thought of this theory was because in the comics, Norman Osborn, he manipulates things to a point where he gets to he pretty much strips Tony Stark of all his companies and technology and steals it all. He keeps it all for himself. And he even steals the Iron Man suits. He keeps all the suits. And he has one in particular, and we've seen this in the movie. This was Iron Man 3, where Rhodey wears the Iron Patriot suit. That is in the comics, the Iron Patriot character, Norman Osborn. So Norman puts together a team of mercenaries to pose as new Avengers, and they have a whole comic series called the Dark Avengers. And so it's Bullseye who poses as Hawkeye, it's Venom who poses as Spider-Man, and then a bunch of other people. So you get the idea. And of course, they can't do this in the movies with all the characters and copyrights and all the legal issues and crap like that. So I was just like, yeah, she's going to turn them into pretty much the Dark Avengers. They're going to be our new Avengers, and now they're going to make a new Avengers movie. So I think she's the Norman Osborn of this story. I really like that idea, and I hope they use that idea a little bit more, that she's manipulating things since we don't have a Norman Osborn yet. Hopefully, crossing fingers, we eventually get one in a Tom Holland movie, or maybe a Miles Morales if we ever get it. But we don't have one. We don't have a Norman. We don't have a Harry, which is kind of sad. But she kind of fills that void for that villain type, like rich, powerful person. So I like her in that role. But like I said in the beginning, it's still weird because of Julia Louis-Dreyfus is just like, she's legendary, but she's legendary and for many other things. I can't see her. It's very hard to see her as a villain, but I still like it though.
It's because I didn't grow up watching Seinfeld. So
Uh,
whatever, I'm okay with her being a villain. So it's like, what's the
mm,
problem? So yay her. But yeah, I like that. You did say Dark Avengers, which is basically new Avengers. We're getting a lot of Avengers. And so I'm wondering, and I love the fact that they had the copyright thing. I'm wondering, is that like an inside joke because they can't technically use like the other characters because they belong to the other studios. So we'll never get, for example, all of the Spider-Man characters in a movie form. Remember Vince D'Onofrio said that. So
don't know.
but I'm wondering if like the copyright line was like, oh, an inside joke because they just can't get everything.
Yeah.
But I like that it was an interesting spin. I'm kind of disappointed in the girl because I was like, oh, you're gonna die at first, but she didn't die. And then she went back to Val. Was like, whap whap, and she called in all the reporters.
Yeah.
Whap whap.
She kind of spun it.
So, but we had at the end where basically Yelena saying, "We own you now." So can she be all great and powerful with with them knowing the truth and them being able to reveal the truth, especially Bob? Because Bob, you don't really want to crush Bob.
I feel like it's almost like the boys type of issue where Vought thinks that they're the powerful ones, but it's really Homelander who's calling all the shots. So I think that's kind of like the dynamic that they're going to have, is that it's the Avengers really calling the shots while Val is in the background, like, hiding and kind of just like, well, at least I'm making money out of it. And at least I'm kind of powerful. And as long as you keep the Avengers happy, they'll leave you alone. So I really like that part right there. Like now that moment when she says, now we own you, because you see that look on her face like, oh crap, what did I just do? So I want to see what's going to happen in the future. I'm wondering like if they're going to make another movie and call it the New Avengers, and we'll talk about, I guess, the end credit. Like, are they going to be?
I really want my Z.
Huh?
I really want my Z in there.
Avengers? No, I don't think that's good. That's not going to be it. That they're not going to be called the Avengers. I think it was just a throwaway joke. It was funny though, but I don't think that's going to happen. But like, I don't know, what are they going to be involved in next? Like, are they going to be involved in the Secret Wars? Are they going to be?
Yes, they announced them. Remember when they did that 5-hour chair?
Yeah,
video?
I did not watch
they're
that.
Part of the cast. But they're part of the cast. Okay. Which to me ends up leading to like more questions. But Philip, finish your thought.
No, yeah, I was wondering what it was going to lead to with that, because we can touch on the end credit scene where they've established themselves as the Avengers or New Avengers now. Some people agree with them, some people don't, and like you mentioned before, Sam Wilson is trying to put together a team, but they're kind of fighting legally for the rights of the Avengers name versus them now too. But Yelena says, hey, we've got issues up in space, we need to check up on that. And then they find the freaking ship, and the ship is the Fantastic Four showing up, and then it cuts. So I'm wondering if are they gonna be involved immediately? Are they gonna have their own movie, or are they just gonna show up in Secret Wars Doomsday first, and the ball gets rolling with them afterwards?
Okay, so this is a theory. I spoke to Kevin Feige. By the way, we released the Kevin Feige interview. Yay.
Nice.
But in the thing, he will not say anything. But this is how it goes, like timeline-wise. Theory is Fantastic Four, the events of Fantastic Four happen during the Avengers. Remember, they're not in the same Earth. It's the different dimension. Remember, we get the futuristic New York City. Yeah. So in that, whatever happens in that movie, at the end, they're like, oh snap, we need help. So they end up going into they cross. Remember how Reed Richards is like, there's so many dimensions. They go through the dimension that enters into Earth. So therefore, they're in our orbit, in our atmosphere. And the first people, theory, is that they make contact with are the New Avengers. Yay!
Okay.
And that's what happens. So that end credit, which was filmed, and like, hey, we got to throw something together. They told them at like the last minute when the movie was already wrapping, you got to do this right now. This was not attached to the movie. But this was the end credit that would explain Fantastic Four's arrival into our Earth, which is even more weird because Galactus entered into their world. So I don't know, does Doom enter into our world? And it's not exactly Fantastic Four's world. Or maybe it's both because you're according to you in your comics, he can go through different dimensions without any problems, right? Doomsday. Doom. Dr.
Doctor Doom. Um, not that he can go into them in the comics. He meshes them together. He literally pulls them all together and amalgamation. He becomes like an all powerful. They call him God. What was it? God Emperor Doom. His name called God Emperor Doom, and he has pretty much the powers of the Beyonder, the Watcher, however you want to put it, in terms so the non-comic fans could understand. But he becomes more powerful than like a Celestial or the Watcher. He becomes so powerful that he's able to mesh the universes together, and he creates one world called Battle World, where that's where the Secret Wars takes place.
So then, there you go then. Because they start, I guess, integrating or something happens within the movie. Again, I think they do this without a plan. But that's what the theory is.
I have a theory with that, is that we've seen set photos of Fantastic Four with secret people getting in on set, being snuck up on set. We still don't know who that is. My theory, honestly, is Robert Downey Jr. I mean, Victor Von Doom is synonymous with Fantastic Four. He has been their arch nemesis since the 40s or 50s or whenever the hell they came out. Like that's their villain. So my theory is that at the end of Fantastic Four movie, as they find out or they involve themselves with Victor Von Doom and they realize that he's a threat and he's doing this Battle World thing, so they go to other universes such as ours now to recruit people and to help with the Doctor Doom issue. That's what I think.
That seems really interesting then. So then here's my other question to you that I wanted to ask. With Sentry, is he more powerful than Doctor Doom?
No. Unfortunately, so not only is Doctor Doom, so I mentioned this before and we had this discussion. Franklin Richards, he is probably by far the most powerfulest character in all of comics. And you mentioned, you said the Sentry, you said the Sentry was, and I'm like, yes, I still think the Sentry is physically, but Franklin Richards can literally think you away, can literally look at you and you're gone. So he has like the power to manipulate literal reality. And that's what happens with Von Doom. Von Doom has a mix of very powerful technology and stuff, but he mixes that technology with magic and a lot of celestial powers. He mixes it with everything pretty much. So it's almost like having Scarlet Witch with like Iron Man level technology. He meshes everything together. So if you were to pit Doctor Doom with the Sentry is going to lose.
Oh, that's not good at all. So that should be very interesting then. And we know that Franklin exists because worst kept secret, it was she was pregnant in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So then that should be really interesting. And I kind of look forward to that. And of course, there's been rumors spreading that, it was a panel where it was revealed. But here's the thing. It was a Marvel Comics writer. He's not a writer, from what I understand, that's on the movie, because he would have definitely been fired. But according to, what was it? It was at the Huntsville Pop Culture 2025 event, where one of the comic writers, Chris Claremont, was speaking about things that seems to happen in Avengers Doomsday. So you know about this one? Where Robert Downey Jr. is supposedly not only Victor Von Doom, Doctor Doom, but apparently playing different characters, while also terming them as two other characters. Chris Evans would be coming back as Captain America, the young one, and a version of a Hydra Captain America. Captain Hydra. And then Elizabeth Olsen will return, but she's like, I'm good now. Famke is coming back as Phoenix. Psylocke is apparently coming back, even though there was no casting announced. and that Wolverine is not only coming back, which we do know, but he's going to kill someone important. But it's not going to be Charles because he's already dead.
That'd be
So
what, the fourth or fifth time he dies in Marvel?
kill him again. But he's going to kill someone important, which is like, oh, maybe one of the new Avengers. And then, kind of my question for you is, we're getting the West Coast Avengers, which was teased in Wonder Man, which comes out in December for Disney Plus. Is there a big difference between, is that would be Sam Wilson's Avengers, because we have West Coast and then whatever new Avengers are?
It could possibly, so that way they're split up and they have their own territories and they can stop fighting each other and stuff. That would make sense. It seemed like Kamala Khan was kind of helping with that stuff, and there was rumors that the new teams that they had been introducing were going to be part of the West Coast Avengers, which, for those who don't know, Wiccan and Speed. Which Speed they haven't introduced yet, but the theory is that they're going to show that on Disney Plus with the White Vision show. Yeah, there's rumors of that showing up. Pretty much we're trying to get back Scarlet Witch's sons, so that way they could be part of the Avengers as well. They also introduced Kate Bishop, so we got Kate Bishop who could be a part of it. So yeah, yeah. So I feel like Sam Wilson's gonna play like the father figure or teacher figure for that new team. Maybe that would make sense to me.
That would be interesting. I just hope it's not convoluted. It's like, here's Avengers Team 1, and here's number 2, and then here's some random, I don't know, the Italian Avengers.
Well, just don't mix them together. That's the thing. And that's why in the comics it works so well, because there's a West Coast Avengers, they have separate comics. There's the East Coast Avengers, they have separate comics. Rarely do they mix and match unless there's like a global or a universal like issue going on. But for the most part, all their stories stay very separate. So if Marvel, the movie entertainment business, if they can keep that stuff separate, then they should be fine.
So what you're saying is you believe in separate but equal.
Sure.
Okay, George Wallace. So then I guess, so then the only kind of mid-credit scene that we had, which was like a little gag, it was cute.
Oh, yeah.
Red Guardian lost weight. He got rid of the beard. And he's on Wheaties box, and he tried to get himself a new wife. And
it's so creepy.
I thought it was charming. And he has gold tooth. It was cute. That was a cute one. So was there anything else that you wanted to mention about this movie or future movies? Fantastic Fours or any connections?
No, I really hope the future stuff that they have, like the end credit scenes, start to really feel more cohesive. They're not just throwaway end credit stuff, because that Fantastic Four thing, end credit thing, was very nicely done. So I think the next movie is Fantastic Four. Am I right? That's what's coming up next. So hopefully that end credit
in July.
In July, yeah. So I hope that end credit stuff is worth waiting for and watching, and it's something important. Aside from that, I feel like they should make it a gag and just keep bringing Taskmaster back and just killing her off every single time, because they've already destroyed this character twice. So why not just make it a running gag at this point?
That is hilarious and sad.
Yeah.
Like maybe Wolverine should just do it and call
Wolverine.
it a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, who are you? And then like this knives go in her head. And then she shows up in another movie. And she makes an appearance and just dies there.
Yep.
So yeah, it works that way. But I thought this was absolutely fantastic. Very emotional. I did have one question though. Is this a superhero movie? I struggle to answer that because it's not a typical superhero movie where it's bad guy versus good guy. It's about mental illness, suicide, depression, meth. We had a meth addiction kind of throwaway line out there. Is this a superhero movie?
Yeah, I think so. It's superhero because it had more darker themes. It was a bit more adult, sure, but it's to show that even the worst type of people, the darkest type of people can bring themselves up to become heroes. So that's a good superhero story in itself, that you can kind of go and redeem yourself after all the stuff that you've done. So yeah, it's a superhero movie. They're now the new Avengers.
Oh, oh, it's a new version of a superhero movie. It's a
Yeah.
new Avengers superhero. That's so sweet. I like it. Yeah, it's a non-traditional superhero movie where you fighting your own battles is how you overcome and gain your superhero powers. That's so cute. Yeah, I just kind of wonder when it comes to Secret Wars and Doomsday, how exactly are just regular people like again? Because it kind of made a thing. Are they going to just shoot their way out of it? They don't really have any powers except for Sentry. So that should be interesting. I don't know how they would play that in there.
Oh, you
But
just
yeah,
gave
oh,
me a
and one
thought.
other
Actually,
okay.
that would absolutely show a force of power in Doctor Doom if like he shows up and the Sentry goes and fights him, and Doctor Doom just like easily just wipes him off the floor. It was almost like that moment, the moment where the Hulk fights Thanos for the first time. Remember how quickly Thanos put him away? Like if they had a moment like that between Doom and Sentry, that would establish Doom as a badass.
And then forever stay with him because I don't think he turned back except for at the end when he was like, "Oh, we have to save the world." Oh my god! So we just get a glimmer of Sentry. He just forever is Bob.
Yeah.
The void takes over and he just disappears. That would be something. Oh, and one other thing that I wanted to say that made me so angry. So I take back every good thing that I said about John Walker. He said on your left. That is not, you do not have the right to say that.
I didn't even see that. I didn't even hear that. When did that happen?
Remember when the everything was heating up, it was like turning into an incinerator, and it was trying to find the separate panel, and so he said,
he did.
"Move over,"
That's right.
and he said, "On your left." I said, "How dare
I
you?"
did not catch that. I did not catch that.
He said, "On your left, he is not my Captain America. Everything I just said good about him. How dare you disrespect and desecrated that entire line." So
That's
yeah.
funny.
So I guess that is everything. That is our review of the wonderful Thunderbolts, which was, I would say, one of the best Marvel movies in a while. Maybe since Endgame, probably. I can't remember, but I think so. Maybe ish.
Yeah.
Definitely better than the Captain America Black that we had. That was a terrible movie. But yeah, and so I think that it was wonderful. One of the best ones. Keep giving us just simple, beautiful stories. And I don't know what's going to happen with Civil War. Well, we have Fantastic Four, which is coming out in July, and that's a simple family thing. And maybe not everyone's fighting depression and suicide in the thoughts. So that will be more uplifting for the kids to go see. I don't know if Thunderbolts is like, let's learn a movie about suicide and meth. But there you go. So I have been your host, Dana. Danny is being called in by the Void, and we will speak to you next time. And also, we have plenty of Thunderbolts interviews on the channel and on the website. Like I said, spoke to Kevin Feige. We have the entire cast, by the way, including Bob. So we look forward to what the Avengers will have in store for us in the future. So we'll see you later. Have a good day.